The debate around critical race theory is both very loud and very, very dumb. But unfortunately, it is important to engage with it.
Well, thank you for contributing to the utter stupidity that is the conversation.
Yeah.
John Oliver.
Thank you, not thank you.
Thank you.
And I am not saying that discussions on race will always be comfortable.
It has nothing to do with comfort, you dumb idiot. It has to do with the fact that this ideology is being smuggled into mainstream thought right under your fucking nose. This radical ideology smuggled right in, and you're too stupid. You have your head too far up your ass in terms of tribal identity to understand it. And all you're saying is Republican. So this video we're about to watch, highly requested by everyone in our community. This is John Oliver. John Oliver decided to take a swing at the whole CRT debate, and he totally missed. He missed so hard that he ended up swinging his entire body around and smacking the back of his head with his bat and laying unconscious at home plate while everyone in the audience laughed.
How is it so easy for these people to fall for the propaganda, and then they themselves become a megaphone for whatever the current propaganda is? How is that possible? How do they do that just reflexively without even thinking?
So what I've learned in our journey of making YouTube content is that there's only like 0.001% of the population that will ever read the source material for any news story.
Right.
Or anything ever. And everything else, not just like people talking about it, but all the news that reports on it and all these TV shows that report on it, they just regurgitate articles and TV segments that they see uncritically, and they assume it's true. They say, oh, this comes from NBC, it must be true. This comes from the Washington Post, it must be true. And none of them fucking fact check anything.
Right.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. At least on the show, we're up to 50% of the people will actually check the source material for whatever it is. That's you, Sitch.
I know.
Probably heard people yelling about.
You know, I wasn't going to say the F word in the beginning of the stream so we don't get demonetized. And then I forgot. John Oliver just says it.
Well, we're
I think into the video.
Once you're past a minute, I think we're pretty cool, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Critical race theory on TV for more than a year now, and people have been listening to that noise, especially judging by what's been happening at school board meetings across the country.
The Western culture and values that brought forth Christianity in the founding documents are being called evil and racist.
I am not co-parenting with the government. It is not your job to force these ideas onto my child.
The narrative in this country is that we're all inherently racist, and I'm about sick of it.
It's a Marxist ideology, and we all know it.
All of these lessons have the intent to make our children feel disgust towards our nation.
This country isn't even a racist country. We elected Obama for 2 terms.
Wait, hold on. America can't be racist because of Obama? I don't know if you remember the two.
So this is very bad faith.
Yeah.
Okay. She said, America can't be a racist country. Not that there aren't people in America that are racist, saying that overall, you can't cast the entire country as racist, because why or how could a racist country elect a black man to be president 2 times in a row?
Yeah, especially when it was a majority of the population.
Yes.
So
yes, the majority voted for him twice, which is a fair point. It's 100% fair point.
Yeah, it is fair.
2008 election, but things got pretty racist back then. People kept saying he was born in Kenya. People said he was a secret Muslim.
See, and then he completely turns it around. He's like, yeah, but a couple people were racist.
Yeah.
So, you know, as long as there's one racist in America, John Oliver can get up on his high horse and say, America is a racist nation. It's so sad.
Which is doubly offensive because it's coming from a proto-American on top of that.
Oh, he's not. He's English?
John Oliver, of
Yeah.
course. But there's like this annoying Mott and Bailey that goes on where especially people on the left, they'll make this argument that, oh, America is racist or the police are racist or something is racist. And you're like, oh, point to me, who the individual racists are. And they say, no. We're not talking about individual racism. We're talking about systemic racism. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
There's this nebulous cloud of racism that you can't, it's like a fog. You see it in the distance. That's what systemic racism is. That's a perfect analogy. It's fog. You see it in the distance and you see the racism very clearly. And as you approach it, it just kind of like disappears. And you can't quite grab a hold of it, so you can never find it. But when you're far away, you can see it. You say, oh, there's racism there. And then as soon as you take the magnifying glass and approach it, oh, it's gone. I don't know what happened to this racism. But then they'll do the exact opposite, which is what John just did right here, where this woman is making a broader claim about the system of America as not being racist. And so what does he do? He says, how can you say the system of America isn't racist? Let me talk about individual people. You can't win. They keep changing the subject on us.
Muslim, and then a few years elected that people president. So let's just agree to disagree on that one, shall we? That first meeting was in Loudoun County, Virginia, and it got so out of hand that the meeting was shut down early, and one guy passionately railing against CRT was arrested for trespassing, only to pop up on Tucker Carlson the very next day. So clearly...
What the hell's going on with Loudoun County? That was the same county that had the thing with the kid who sexually assaulted those two girls. Adam. Adam just left me, guys. Adam just ditched me. In the middle of the stream. Doesn't say anything. Just disappears. Maybe he was abducted by communists. What happened, Adam? This is how you know that I am the true host and that Adam is merely the sidekick. Can you believe this guy is so irresponsible? Wow. You're right. Chad is right. You know what Adam went to go do? Adam went to go buy some more bread, to go feed some more ducks. Adam's duck simpery is so powerful that in the middle of streaming, he's like, listen, my duck sense is tingling. I got to go feed those ducks. It's terrible.
What's up? Don't make fun of the ducks.
You snuck out of here.
Now you
sneaker.
know I'm a fan of ducks.
You were duck simping in the middle of the stream. You
No,
had to go
I
feed the
ducked
ducks
out.
in the middle of the stream. You ducked it. There you go. Ducked out. You ducked out.
I had a very important meeting to take care of real quick. But I'm back.
duck?
Hey guys, you missed me?
I don't know if you remember this part. He's talking about this. They had this a bunch of parents were complaining about CRT in Loudoun County.
Oh yeah.
And this was the same place where they had that
dress.
kid.
Yeah.
The kid in the dress sexually assaulted two girls, and they had these contentious parent school board meetings. I'm like, what the fuck's going on in Loudoun County? Why is this one place such a hotbed of parents yelling at
a
teachers?
big rich suburban community too, from what I hear. So
yeah, it's one of the richest in the state. And I looked into this briefly. It's so like when they say like this guy was arrested, basically what happened was he wasn't like fighting anyone. The police are like, we're ending this meeting early, or the school board was ending the meeting early, and he's like, well, I refuse to leave until I get to be heard or something. And the police said, well, if you refuse to leave, then you're trespassing. We're going to arrest you. So he says, arrest me. So then they arrest him. Like, it's not like, like John Oliver's kind of making it like, oh my God, fights were breaking out. People were going crazy.
Civil disobedience, huh? Right. Wow. The left hates civil disobedience.
I know. Remember when? Yeah. Danimal the Bruce for $20. Thank you, Danimal says the quote, "Don't say gay bill is the best way to help trans kids if these people are so concerned. The leading cause of suicide is isolation, and getting the family involved in a child's mental health crisis is the best thing to do." No, it's a great point.
Hugely agree. Yeah.
It's a great point. Yeah. That's what's so insane about the school or anyone trying to hide this stuff from the parents out of the fear that their parents will reject them. It's like, well, you're just making it worse.
Yes. They have this idea that the parents are going to beat them.
Right. And like, if you have a young child who you think is going through something like, they're coming out as gay or they're coming out as trans, and you're like a school administrator or a counselor or a teacher, and you're telling them to hide it from their parents, they're going to have like this weight of like, oh shit, I have to hide this important aspect of my life from the people that raise me and that I spend, a huge amount of time with at home. There's so much pressure and stress you're adding to a child by trying to get them to hide stuff from their parents. It's really gross.
Especially at a way early age. I mean, at 10, 11, 12, I mean, you're individuating from your parents anyway. That's not happening at these ages. Like, you're all about family at those ages. Family's your entire world.
That's true.
A lot of people are getting very mad about critical race theory right now, and instinctively, you probably know it's a manufactured panic.
God, I fucking hate you.
Me or?
I know John Oliver. This so triggers me because it just allows John Oliver to just completely turn his brain off. He basically said all of the people who are concerned about critical race theory are concerned over nothing. That's so far from the truth.
I know.
Do you honestly think any of the people that 12-year-old girl who tried to commit suicide at school because they basically transed her and didn't tell the parents, are you saying that they're following some manufactured idea? Well, I guess it's not critical race theory, but
Well, we'll get into that because it's kind of interesting where this goes. But I'm interested to what he just said. He said, as you probably already know, it's manufactured. So he's not even like, let me explain to my audience a position. He's saying, oh, you already have the correct opinion. Let me reinforce.
Oh, great point. Yeah, exactly.
Like just listen. That's so fucking weird.
The very next day. So clearly, a lot of people are getting very mad about critical race theory right now. And instinctively, you probably know it's a manufactured panic.
Actually, it's worse than that. He said, instinctively, you probably know it's a manufactured panic. Okay. John Oliver is just appealing to people's elephants and their tribal identity. He's saying, listen, if you're on the left and you hear people on the right complain about something, instinctively, you know that they're wrong or that they're lying or that they're bad and that it's manufactured. That's so like that one sentence is so incredibly telling.
Yeah. It's so go ahead. I want you to
what does it say? Like it really shows a lack of John Oliver and his writing staff's understanding of human behavior and their own behavior, that they would include that line in their show. Instinctively, you already know that this is bullshit.
It's so bizarre that we have these two super contentious issues in public school right now, critical race theory and the gender ideology stuff. I mean, James Lindsay has kind of linked these in a way, hasn't he? It seems like he has. Yeah,
well, I mean, this is all coming from like the neo-Marxian ideology.
Right. Yeah.
And it goes to what I was saying in the beginning of the stream, where if our society has been based upon liberal principles since its foundation, okay? And then especially if race conversations have been based on liberal principles since the civil rights movement.
And you mean individual rights when you say liberal principles?
Yeah, I know. It's so annoying.
Well, individual rights is like self-explanatory.
Right.
And a lot of people are triggered. I notice a lot of people on the right are triggered by liberal principles, but they're not triggered by individual rights. Because
you're
they're
right.
like, fucking individual rights, fucking sign me up. Right?
We need, yes. Is it just individual rights? Is that the term I should use? Some other term?
I mean, I don't know how you're defining it, but
Western
I
principles.
feel, and you know, we think about this stuff all the time because we talk about it for hours on end when we do our live streams. But for me, the essence of it really comes down to that book, The Narrow Corridor to Liberty. We're trying to maximize individual rights for people,
Right.
so that they benefit from the fruits of their own labor, and they're inspired to create, to become part of society, to innovate, to form the products and services of the future. Well, like it or not, whatever your take is on capitalism, obviously, I'm not Pollyanna about capitalism. There is corruption that takes place that we need to fight against. But this idea that we want to foster an environment where individual people can seek their own goals and projects and things like that is what we're working towards. And for me, that's what the liberal project is. And a lot of the things like objective, all of the other things kind of come out of that, like the search, like scientific objectivism, empiricism, all of those things come out of empowering of the individual. Am I wrong, or do you disagree?
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right, and I'll try to use that term. I'll use individual rights now, as to not trigger people.
It's
and to confuse the issue.
Well, hold on a second here, because you are going to trigger people, because everyone on the left hears individual rights and they think right winger, racist, all right pipeline.
Okay, so there's no way to win.
I know
No
it's terrible. It's terrible. It is.
What's the term? There's got to be some neutral term for this shit.
This is why we have two bubbles going on that both have their own independent language, and just saying the wrong words trigger people. So I don't know. It's funny because we got a super nice super chat about this, about how this is why we're never going to get big, because in order to get big, you really have to say, I'm going to go for this audience. This audience accepts this language. I'm going to use this language, and that's going to be my audience. So, which puts us in just a weird kind of situation.
So, okay, I have a solution. Let's piss off everyone, and I'll say
liberal individual rights.
Liberal rights.
Well, that's good. We will get a lot more people on our Tuesday stream arguing with us on how can you say liberal rights or individual rights?
Right.
Yeah.
So our entire society has been based on this principle of individual rights.
Yes. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are all about individual rights.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Right. And it's insane to me that we're having this completely new ideology enter into the equation. You have CRT and you have all this woke shit. And it's all anti-individual rights. It's all anti-liberalism. It's all neo-Marxian conflict theory, groupthink, collectivist dredge.
Right.
Basically.
Yes.
And it's being smuggled in to the conversation. And no one's saying, wait a minute, you're basically overturning what both the left and the right in this country have been talking about since its founding.
Yes.
And we're not allowed to question it. We're not allowed to say that this is wrong without being labeled as racist or transphobic or whatever.
Yeah, they've hugely shifted the Overton window. Not only that, they're literally defining individual rights as racist, according to these critical race theory books, these white privilege books.
Not just racist, but like a conspiracy theory designed to subjugate black people, basically.
Yeah. I brought up the 15 characteristics of white supremacy because individualism is on it. Individualism is on it.
I know. How insane is that?
Individualism.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating.
But the fact is, the fear around it is having real effects. Last year, Glenn Youngkin won the governor's race in Virginia after repeatedly promising that on his first day in office, he'd ban CRT from being taught in schools. Multiple states have passed laws outlawing the teaching of it, and Republicans are likely to make it a major focus of the midterms. When it comes to critical race theory, think of it like Rihanna's pregnancy. Even if you think it has nothing to do with you, believe me, you're going to be hearing a lot about it this year. So given that, we thought tonight we'd take a step back and look at what critical race theory is and isn't, why the panic around it has spread, and what the consequences might be for everyone involved. And I realise...
He should have said we're gonna lie about what critical race theory really is.
Well, I don't think he's smart enough to understand what it is.
He is lying. This is systemic lying all the way. He may not
Yes, it is
realize
systemic
he's
lying,
lying,
right.
but he is spreading misinformation.
Well, and remember, he said the goal here tonight is that we're going to talk about what it is and isn't, because they do very little talking about what it is.
Oh,
at all.
you're right. Yes. They
It's like
space out on that.
Yeah, they talk about that for like 10 seconds, and then the rest of the show is just look conservatives bad, essentially.
That's his
Which is
whole
what's
audience.
yeah, which is what's so baffling about this whole segment. He barely even talks about what critical race theory is.
We're gonna fill in the gaps.
Yes.
Some of you may already know what CRT is. After all, explainers on it have become one of the most common sites on the internet, along with mediocre Wordle scores and ugly monkey JPEGs sold by and for dipshits. But,
Well, that's fair.
But many
Well, that's fair. I heard that.
That's fair.
are still very confused. A recent survey found that an overwhelming majority of US residents have a hard time articulating exactly what CRT is. And that even goes for some of those who've been
Okay, so there's the reason for that, as someone who's read very voluminous CRT literature, is for two reasons. First of all, well, actually, it's three reasons. The first is that if you try to read a lot of CRT literature, it's written in academic gobbledygook speak, which makes the average person want to die when they read it.
Yes, myself included.
Yes, myself included as well. It's like a pain tolerance you have to work beyond. It's like you can't go running a marathon without training your body to acclimate to running long distances first. And it's terrible. It's the gatekeeping on this academic literature is insane, which is hilarious considering it's supposed to be about like tearing down these, bourgeoisie tiers and oppressive hierarchies. So you have the academic literature is written in this like fucking almost inconceivable way to break through. The literature is written to intentionally be vague, and I would even argue dishonest to some extent, because you can find CRT literature, you can find lots of neo-Marxian literature, but you can find CRT literature where they talk about how it's dangerous to try and overthrow the current system without it's dangerous to try to overthrow the current system until the replacement system you're advocating for has taken root in people's consciousness. So basically what they're saying is until we can make socialism and black nationalism like accepted in society, we have to hide our power level. Because if we just talk about overturning individual rights and liberalism right off the bat, we'll turn everyone off.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of sneak these concepts into the mainstream. And then once they grab hold, then we're like, pull the tarp off and say, aha, this is what we've been advocating for the whole time.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
That's the
terrifying.
ultimate bait and switch right there.
The whole thing is bait and switch. I was annoyed because there are two quotes that are highly relevant to this. I couldn't find the second one. I don't remember where I read it, but I found one of them. Let me see where it is. It's too long for me to read on stream. But even Kimberly Crenshaw kind of goes into this in one of her papers, and she even quotes Gramsci and talks about cultural hegemony and how you have to kind of hide your power level and all this stuff.
Gramsci.
Yeah.
That loser.
And so it's just like, that's why no one understands what CRT is. It's like intentionally sort of created in this dishonest way. And then you get stupid people like John Oliver, who are just the ignorant fools regurgitating garbage that they read in a Vox article, or Kimberly Crenshaw tries to go on some interview and she tries to tie a neat little bow on her ideology. And just a way to like conceive of how ridiculous this is. Imagine this would be like if there was some resurgence of neo-Nazis and they're like, oh, we're not, neo-Nazis isn't anti-Semitic. Neo-Nazis aren't racist. And you had the head of the neo-Nazi movement come out and they're describing their view of their own movement. And this would be like basically John Oliver just uncritically listening to the head of the neo-Nazi movement.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
why are we so afraid of the neo-Nazis? Look at what this guy says. What he's saying, he says they're not racist. He's just saying it's just a new way of looking at the world, and that we should have tight-knit communities, based on, blood and soil. And is blood and soil really that bad? I mean, come on.
This is just a new way of looking at power structures.
I know.
It's called white power structures. That's such a great analogy, because it's just insane that he's letting this stuff influence him in the way he is without looking at any of it critically at all.
Yeah, well, and this is the problem, is that all of our sense-making apparatus in America, at least, when it comes to information, all of our news sources have been completely dropped the ball. They've all been basically subsumed into partisanship bickering. And that's the primary purpose they engage in, is we want to win for Team Democrat or Team Republican. And so if they have to report on a story that helps one side or hurts the other side, that's the only lens that they can kind of view it through.
Yeah, scary.
Though I will say there was a New York Times article that was written by the editorial board that did call out cancel culture, which I liked. They did have to kind of frame it as if it's a right-wing issue, but I'm hoping that that's a sign of a positive direction, at least, because they did say that the left was engaged with it too. So maybe we're finally having the slow wake-up moment. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too optimistic, but
I think I read that article.
yeah, a lot of people on the left were very triggered by that article.
Really? Because they've been
Yes.
being sold the same lie that cancel culture is just a right-wing lie. So much of this stuff, so much of the rebuttal to conservative arguments is it's all just a lie.
Right.
It's so bad. People are being so deceived, and they're just gobbling up this nonsense.
True.
That's
Yelling about it,
also making their political opposition just, I mean, they don't even respect their political opposition at all.
No. Well, I mean, no one respects their political opposition in this country. So,
Well, I feel there are people on the right that do respect their political opposition to an extent. Obviously, there are hyper partisans who don't respect their political opposition at all. But I mean, I would look at John Oliver as someone who is mainstream on the left, and he has no respect for his political opposition. Where I feel like there are mainstream people on the right that have respect for their political opposition. Obviously, we saw the exchange between Andrew Sullivan and Jon Stewart, Con Stewart.
yeah. Well, but Sullivan's sort of, I mean, a lot of people on the right don't even like Sullivan. So I'm not sure.
Right, but he is on the right.
Yes, he is.
My only argument is that there are people on the right that have respect, mainstream people on the right that have respect for their political opposition on the left.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there are.
There are more.
I don't know that there are people on the left, mainstream people on the left, that have respect for their political opposition on the right.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you
That's
think there is?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Loudest.
I've never figured out what a critical race theory is, to be totally honest, after a year of talking about it. They're teaching that some races are morally superior to others, that some are inherently sinful and some are inherently saintly, and that's immoral to teach that because it's wrong.
Wow. I don't know if I...
So this is, he plays this clip of Tucker Carlson, who I don't like either. But Tucker Carlson says, I don't fully understand it, but then he immediately gives his problem with it. And he says it's this race essentialization, which CRT claims to not engage in, but does essentially engage in, which is to ascribe essential characteristics to different races, saying that one race is bad and one race is good, which is the way CRT frames a lot of the conversation. So I think that's a completely fair statement. Say, well, I don't understand it fully, but I understand this part of it, and I don't like it because it's despicable and racist. And yet, just because he said, I don't fully understand it, John Oliver is going to go, oh, wow, he doesn't understand it, yet he's wasting all this time and energy talking about it. What an idiot.
I know, it's so ridiculous that he does that. And I mean, I agree with what he's saying and the characterization of it. My problem is that you know, so the next line in the MPC dialogue tree is that that's not what critical race theory is. You don't know what, you know, what you're saying is completely incorrect. And then they peddle out some lies about what critical race theory is, just, you know, teaching African-American history or whatever. So I just feel like you can get past that. He's articulating what he doesn't like. And he's saying, okay, well, if that's not critical race theory, this is the thing that I don't like and I don't want taught in schools. So then conversation over. We're all in agreement that shouldn't be taught in schools, right?
Right. Right. Well, and also it's ironic because, you know, John Oliver is going to criticize Tucker for saying he doesn't understand it when John Oliver doesn't fucking understand it.
No, not at all. Yes.
He understands nothing about what they're advocating for.
Yeah. All he knows is the cover story.
If we could just have the conversation publicly actually be real.
Yes.
About what CRT and wokeness is, I would be I'd feel 90% better about things if it wasn't all just hidden underneath the surface of what was being advocated for.
We've tried to have those dialogues here on this channel.
Yes.
And we still get that, oh, well, that's not critical race theory. And every time you respond, okay, well, then I'm not against critical race theory. I'm against this. This is what I don't like. What do we call that? So I can say, I don't want this in public schools, right? I don't want them teaching this oppressor-oppressed narrative to school kids.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, well,
which, yeah, that and that's the easiest, and that's one of like the easiest things to understand about CRT is that it is teaching. I mean, it is just it's just Marxian conflict theory, and they replace class with race. And people are like, okay, I don't want to teach children that, you know, all white people are participating in this white supremacist society and all black people are victims. I don't want to teach that to children.
Yes. Yes. Even though you don't call it CRT. We watched a show, I think it was Bill Maher with, what is it, Malcolm Nance and Ben Shapiro, where they had an interaction over it.
Yes.
And Ben Shapiro described exactly what Tucker Carlson describes here. And Malcolm Nance, who is the pro-CRT guy, says, oh, that sounds great. I want that taught in school. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a second here. It was like a mask off moment for, yeah, no, that's really what we want to teach. I mean, what Tucker Carlson is describing here is what they want to teach.
Well, yeah, it's hard to tell because like with Malcolm Nance, you know, Nance, I think everyone's so cynical in this conversation and that CRT uses these buzzwords like equity and race consciousness and all this stuff that when Ben Shapiro just says them, like what he's hearing and what Ben Shapiro is hearing are just, they're operating on the two movies. They don't understand what is being advocated for.
Right. John Oliver hears the new term for equality of opportunity.
And then, and that's what's so annoying is that in the mainstream, you have all these ignorant, useful idiots for CRT. And then almost whenever I get into a conversation on Twitter with someone about this, it's always this game of hide the shell. I got into this very long Twitter interaction with this person about CRT. And I said, CRT is race Marxism in an attempt to bring back the new left's black nationalism, separatism into the mainstream discourse. Even the worst prescriptions can pose accurate critiques of existing systems, but that's not enough to keep it around. And then they play the whole game of, oh, you're saying it's all Marxo-communism. This isn't some new angle. The right-wing outrage mongers have been crying about this for years, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So then I post pictures of text from CRT stuff saying that it's literally black nationalism and black separatism and anti-integrationism. And what do? They read that and they say, oh, I don't see anything contentious in there. And I said, well, what do you mean? You just said earlier that it wasn't, that I was lying, that it's not Marxism and it's not black nationalism. And they completely changed their tune. And then they're like, oh, no. I always knew that's what it was about. You don't understand. And so it's like, this is why I get so frustrated when we were talking to Sam and we were talking to Jangles and we talked to anyone about this. It's like, I don't know who the fuck is just lying and who just doesn't know because they're just too ignorant about the subject or they're too jaded about the political conversation. And it's like impossible to parse through all this stuff.
They don't know. They've taken a position based on ignorance. And then they're going to lie like a rug to get themselves out of it, because once they've taken that position, they're like going down with the ship.
Right, but that's another thing too. Is it just people arguing because they don't want to be wrong?
Yes.
Or did they always know and I just revealed the truth and now they're defending it?
I think they ignorantly adopt the position.
Maybe.
I think people just ignorantly adopt positions all the time. And in this environment, so much of it is driven by the thirst for attention. So many of these are content creators that are just so thirsty to get on a panel show or to, have a conversation with somebody, to get in front of an audience, that they'll take any position to do that. And unfortunately, they end up taking these completely ridiculous positions because anyone with a shred of dignity is actually going to look into the things before they say them. Anyone who's built an audience, they're just gonna, they're not gonna take some crazy position just for some debate.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone
they're gonna
said,
think first.
Yeah. Someone said 10% lying, 90% don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's surprising about right.
Who's lying? I mean, but I don't. That's an impossible thing. You can never tell who the 10% is and who the 90% is.
Right.
I am not saying discussing race in a classroom is easy or even always done well. Experts in this field will readily admit that.
Now, have you seen bad implementations of this?
Of course. Right? That's like asking, have I seen a bad math lesson? Right? Yes, teachers are humans, especially as we're trying to figure out how to teach about race and racism.
Exactly. Teachers are human and can make mistakes. Frankly, I'm surprised they don't make more. They wake up insanely early and spend all day getting low-key roasted by teenagers.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
It is hailing in South Florida right now.
Wow.
So, but it's very small chunks of ice, so I'm hoping my car will be okay. What did I miss? Anything important? I feel like I missed something important.
Yeah, you can back it up. Go ahead, back it up.
How much did you watch?
Not much.
Something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. And the thing is, it fucking worked. Because whenever you hear...
They always cast that as like...
Yeah, what's your take on that?
Yeah, there's nothing in that statement that's bad or wrong.
Yeah. Well, they cast it as dishonest. They're trying to say that if Christopher Rufo was honest, he would admit to their definition of critical race theory.
Right.
Right.
But they have the wrong definition of critical race.
They have the wrong definition of critical race theory, and also have dismissed the thing that people are actually upset about as irrelevant to critical race theory. So they're wrong on 2 points, two very big, giant points, which just, I like, put your big boy pants on and join the political conversation, Nimrod. I'm serious.
Negative perception.
I agree.
The goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. And the thing is, it fucking worked. Because whenever you hear CRT now, you are not hearing about the academic discipline. You're hearing about a category so broad, it encompasses both the craziest thing in the newspaper and also, crucially, any conversation about race that someone does not want to have.
So he's saying that they broaden the category to encompass every conversation about race. I mean, that people don't want to have is sort of immaterial, but it is any conversation about race in the classroom. But the whole point of this is why are we having these race conversations in the classroom?
Well, and specifically, not just having race conversations that are anti-individual rights and anti-liberal principles that our country was founded upon.
Well, and that there are conflicting narratives on that people have huge, wide disagreements on. I would argue that this conversation has really drifted into the realm of a theological conversation, not a historical conversation or a scientific one. I mean, we're really arguing religions here.
Yeah, and
Our religion begins with "Let there be red, white, and blue light." So, but we at least have the ability to understand that we're talking in sort of a theological framework. I don't think that they think that. I think that they speak from the perspective from inside the religion, thinking, "Oh, this is just the way the world is. Of course, red, white, and blue light is the truth." Okay.
right.
Yeah.
I am not saying discussing race in a classroom is easy or even always done well. Experts in
the problem with this is, like, if you read all the anti-CRT bills, their only criticism of it is they're too vague. Okay, that's their only criticism. Even if they think that the label of CRT is being broadened, most of these, if not all the anti-CRT bills, none of them even say CRT. They just say the things that I listed from the Trump executive order, like don't fucking be racist, essentially. And why can't they just say, "Oh, we're fine with these bills. There's nothing in these bills that are wrong"?
They can't say that because their whole narrative is that the Republicans are lying pieces of shit,
Right.
Stoking a moral panic. How many times have I heard them say moral panic over this stuff?
Moral panic. Well, it's so hilarious because I keep hearing not only moral panic, but the right in America is starting a culture war. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? The left started this current woke culture war. And now that the right is fighting back through legislation, they're starting the war. You fighting back against your opening salvo is not starting the war. The opening salvo is starting the war.
Yeah.
Cancel culture started the war. All this fucking woke shit started the war, the culture war.
Yeah. Yes.
And if the left really didn't care about the culture war, and this is what I hear too. Oh, all the right cares about is the culture war. That's all they care about. They don't care about real issues. It's like, okay, well, if the left doesn't care about the culture war and they only care about quote unquote real issues, why don't they stop talking about these bills? Why doesn't the left and the Democrats say, we don't have a problem with these bills, now let's do something productive?
Yeah. Because they want to drive people to the polls in the next election to vote for Democrats because of a moral panic.
Yes.
The
exactly.
racist Republicans are coming.
Yep.
It is such a self-report. It really is.
It is. It's
this is our strategy, and we're just going to pin our strategy on them. My goodness.
this field will readily admit that.
Now, have you seen bad implementations of this?
Of course, right? That's like asking, have I seen a bad math lesson, right? Like, yes, teachers are humans, especially as we're trying to figure out how to teach about race and racism.
Have you seen a bad lesson about gender and gender ideology where the teacher tells people, makes up shit about the biological realities of life? I wonder. That's why I'm like, why are you putting things in the classroom that teachers can fuck up? Don't you think when you're educating people, there's enough things out there that we don't have to put things in the classroom that are dangerously misinterpreted?
It's funny that you should mention that, Adam. I don't know if you went and watched this CBS report that John Oliver is citing here.
No.
Because it's highly relevant to what you just said. Let me bring it up.
Oh my God.
Yes, real quick.
It's so amazing. It's so much better to be lucky. It's so much better just to be lucky than to be a good planner. I'm telling you.
That's right. I watched this thing and I was like, oh, there's this point. And then Adam just stumbles upon this point by accident without watching it at all. He just intuitively figured it out there.
Listen, I have 2 elephants. I'm not sure if you know this. I'm super intuitive.
Okay.
You know that dumb empath on Star Trek? I got her beaten by a mile.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Deanna Troi.
Deanna
Troi.
Deanna Troi, yeah.
Well, anyways, so the context here, because we're not going to, there's a couple segments of this I want to watch. But this segment is interesting, and we'll watch it first. The guy on the left is a teacher at school or he was a teacher who has been fired because he was teaching things that were too close to the lines of these, CRT stuff.
Really? Holy cow, Sitch doing his homework. Were you doing this during EFAP? How'd you get this?
I know, I did this on Friday. And I want you to listen to what what inspired him to start talking about white privilege, because it's literally exactly what you said. It's, do you trust, you have teachers who are making bad decisions and saying bad things based on stupid shit. Okay.
What is the history behind what's happening in the United States with regards to race?
So how did you lose your job?
Well, this goes back to the fall of 2020. It was the Jacob Blake and the Kyle Rittenhouse situation in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Oh my God.
Over the police.
No. He lost his job over telling the truth about Kyle Rittenhouse.
No. It's the opposite.
Oh, really?
Shooting of Jacob Blake continued for a fifth day. Blake is still recovering from multiple gunshot wounds. Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager charged with killing 2 people during Tuesday night's protest, is appearing before a judge this morning.
And I said, well, I have to talk about this in my contemporary issues class. And so I did, and I made the statement that white privilege is a fact. And I...
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Oh, no.
Not in the context of Kyle Rittenhouse. That's so bad. So bad.
So he has a contemporary issues class, which, by the way, I forget what state this is, but I had a current events class too.
Yeah. I had current events way back in the before
it was great.
times.
I loved it.
Yeah. We covered things like the Falklands War.
Such an old man.
Everyone freaks out when I say shit like that.
I know. But no, and my teacher was able to talk about current events without taking definitive political sides in any of these issues. And so here's a perfect example. You have a teacher who looks at Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse. Jacob Blake, if you forgot, is the guy who sexually assaulted his girlfriend.
Yes.
And then tried to steal the car with children in it. And
violated a restraining order. Yeah.
Violated a restraining order, had a weapon in the car, had a gun or a knife in the car.
Pulled a knife on the cop while he's trying to arrest him.
Right. The cops try to pin him to the ground. He fights them off. They tase him, I believe, twice. And it doesn't work. And only when he's about to get in the car that has children in it, which the police think are being kidnapped because his girlfriend is screaming, my children are in the car.
Not his car, a rental car from his girlfriend.
Right. That they shoot him to prevent him from driving off with children in the car. Okay. 100% justified shooting, in my estimation. 100% justified. So we have that situation, and then we have the fake news, obviously, that we've covered to death on the stream about Kyle Rittenhouse. And that is what leads this teacher to say, white privilege is a fact in America.
Well, you know how he said it, because he's like, Kyle Rittenhouse would have been immediately incarcerated. There's no way he would have walked past the police cruiser. I mean, they did bear mace him in the face, right?
Well, police mace, not bear mace, but...
Yeah, whatever it is.
Well,
I'm sure it's probably the same thing, but... yeah. I mean, that was the conversation.
Right.
That he walked past the police with an AK, and if he was a black person, he would have been tackled and killed on sight.
Well, if even, because we don't know because he doesn't talk about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he bought in the whole narrative that Kyle Rittenhouse was, firing indiscriminately into a crowd of protesters.
Oh, yeah.
Killed black people and minorities, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Blah. So
this dumb white guy, this dumb moron. Just think, these are the people teaching your kids, these idiots.
Right. So I just thought this was crazy.
Let's go a little more. Come on, you piqued my interest here.
I asked my students, what are we going to do to help or contribute to ending racism in the United States? After the January the 6th insurrection.
And my students say, shut up, boomer. You don't know anything. Have you even watched the videos, Mr. Wilson? What the fuck?
I assigned an article by Ta-Nehisi Coates called "The First White."
Oh no!
Yep, went straight for the Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Oh shit!
Yep.
This racist piece of shit. This definitely violates the executive order. I'm telling you, this is not good. This is not good.
President. We were going to look at the 2016 election. We were going to look at social media.
Oh my God, he's a January 6th or 2. This is amazing.
Media and Trump being a good businessman, all the things that the students brought up. And it had some language in it. And a parent complained, and I received a reprimand from the central office saying that I was not giving varying viewpoints to my students and that the language in the article was inappropriate for high school students.
Hold on a second.
What?
We got to get the language. She did. People be.
And all the things that the students brought up.
Here it
and
is.
it had some language in it.
The language.
And a parent complained, and I received.
Derived from cuckold, the slur cuck, phrase grab them by the pussy. The construct of a white race is the idea of not being
a reprimand.
Oh wait, I think I didn't work it out.
I didn't read the whole article because it's very long, but I skimmed like the first couple pages of it. There's a lot of N-words thrown around there. So.
Oh wow, because it is it's Tallahassee Coates, Ta-Nehisi Coates, something like that.
Tallahassee,
Who claimed to honor the lady while raping the whore. Oh
yeah, I don't know. I didn't get to that part, so I don't know what that's being. There, but
from the central.
This is a spicy article you're giving out to your. What grade is this? Did he say? I can't remember.
I don't think he says stage.
Okay.
But.
Yeah. Yes, this is definitely some political propaganda. Yeah.
Yep.
Teachers should be forced to read The Righteous Mind. They really should.
And the point of the article, from at least what I read of it, seemed to be saying that all presidents before Trump, they didn't run on being white. Their whiteness was implicit in like the racism of the president is implicit in like majority and white privilege in America. And Donald Trump is the first white president because he ran on his whiteness to counteract Obama's blackness. And he kind of frames it like the only reason Donald Trump won is because racist people were so against a black guy being president that they voted for Donald Trump. That seemed to be the point of the article,
So the article is called The First White President, and he's arguing that Trump is the first white president, not George Washington.
Because Trump is the first president to run on whiteness explicitly.
Right.
And obviously, so if you're Republican and your child comes home with this article that's essentially saying
you voted for Trump.
You voted for Trump because you're racist.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a bit of a problem with the teacher teaching this,
why is a teacher teaching my kid I'm a racist?
Right.
Yeah. Which, I'm glad this guy got fired. I hope fucking good luck. I hope you're working at Burger King now, bub. Oh, I'm so infuriated. Hey, I have to run on a super quick errand.
What?
I want to go to the bathroom before Joe gets here. So
you go to the bathroom. So let's go back to our boy John. We were at 9 minutes and 32 seconds.
You keep impeccable notes. So good.
I try.
Well, yeah, we got to invite Joe back to talk about capitalism. I think that's next.
Yeah. That was strange. It wasn't strange, but it was. I didn't get a definitive answer.
I think we need to set up a more debate format too, where it's like time talk. Obviously, we get in these open discussions, and we want to let people finish their arguments. We don't want to interrupt, but he was doing most of the talking.
Sometimes you have to narrow the focus of things.
Yes.
Exactly. Teachers are human and can make mistakes. Frankly, I'm surprised they don't make more. They wake up insanely early and spend all day getting low-key roasted by teenagers for an amount of money best described as completely harrowing. The very fact any student in America knows what a covalent bond is a fucking miracle, and every adult involved deserves the Congressional Medal of Honor. And the fact is...
So, Adam, what's a covalent bond?
A covalent bond is a bond of atoms where they actually share electrons with one another.
How do you fucking know that? Do you actually remember that?
Genius. Sitch, you don't understand, okay?
I can't believe I really thought I was gonna get you. I thought I was gonna get him.
You can't this is A team, okay?
He remembers what a covalent bond was.
You can't get A team.
Jesus.
Can we get enough of this? Can we get back to the video? I have important things to watch.
Listen, I'm impressed. I didn't fucking remember what a covalent bond was. Holy shit.
How could you forget?
Because I didn't give a fuck.
Laws being passed to prevent discomfort or anguish on account of an individual's race. Whose discomfort exactly are we prioritizing here? Because kids of color can tell you they
Everybody's comfort.
don't get a choice to not talk about race and have it go away, like this graduate of Loudoun County schools.
I do understand that many parents don't want their children learning about race at such a young age, but I beg to differ in that sense. We learn about race every day when we're the only colored kid in our classrooms, or when we're learning about slavery and all the heads turn to us. So one way or another, one group of students will learn about race before another.
That's so sad. That's so sad because they talk about standpoint theory all the time. Oh, we have to listen to black voices. Why the fuck do you think every head is turning to you, guy? It's wokeness. Wokeness is why. Oh, wait, we have a black person in here. Let's see what he says. Wouldn't it be better if we got rid of that shit?
It would be better.
Yeah.
It would be better.
Fuck.
So we believe that it would be equitable if all students learned about race in the same context, so we can work together on it to improve our future.
Yeah. Children of color learn about race from a very young age. From realizing you celebrate different holidays or get different safety talks, or the first time you go to a white friend's house.
Celebrate different holidays is a weird one. I don't know what
Yeah.
Do you think all black people celebrate Kwanzaa or something?
I guess so.
What's he talking about? I don't think most black people celebrate different holidays.
Black people don't like Christmas. I mean, all my black friends always celebrated Christmas.
I mean,
so
I celebrate different holidays, but that's because I'm, part of the master people. But
yeah.
House and your casserole. You realize very quickly in that moment we are different people with different cultures. So look, by this point it should be pretty clear. The debate around critical race theory is both very loud and very, very dumb. But unfortunately, it is important to engage with it.
Well, thank you for contributing to the utter stupidity that is the conversation.
Yeah.
John Oliver.
Thank you, not thank you.
Thank you.
Because if we don't, the endpoint that we are heading toward is that honest discussions of race will be shut out of public schools, even as some parents fuck off to voucher academies where their kids can learn a version of history that's basically antebellum fan fiction. And I am not saying that discussions on race will always be comfortable for everyone in a classroom, but think about it like this. When was learning and growing as a person ever really comfortable? The thing to do...
It has nothing to do with comfort, you dumb idiot. It has to do with the fact that this ideology is being smuggled into mainstream thought right under your fucking nose. This radical ideology smuggled right in, and you're too stupid. You have your head too far up your ass in terms of tribal identity to understand it. And all you're saying is Republican bad, Republican bad.
Yeah. He doesn't realize that they're literally smuggling it in his beehole.
Yes, he is.
He's the fucking mule.
Yes, John Oliver is Morty. Okay, and he's shoving the CRT way up your ass, Morty. Okay, right up in there to smuggle it across the security guard of liberalism and individual rights.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll read this sentence. Single sentence. This is from the second page of the introduction. I know introductions don't mean anything, okay, apparently. But this introduction
introduction
from the CRT book, right off the bat, the literal top of the page. Says, the aspect of our work, CRT, which most markedly distinguishes it from conventional liberal and conservative legal scholarship about race and inequality is a deep dissatisfaction with traditional civil rights discourse. Okay.
Wow.
So obviously, this is a new idea, John, that they're trying to smuggle in. So why the fuck are you pretending like that's not a new idea and that this is just teaching about history?
Just teaching traditional civil rights discourse. Oh, wait.
Right. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. White privilege.
Here isn't to run from those discussions or pass laws banning them. It is to learn how to have them better. Because for generation after generation, we've told school kids fairy tales about race in this country. And maybe it's time we stop doing that. Because
that's such bullshit. I hate that too. The fairy tale. What? Name that fairy tale. Name it.
Right.
It's in the one book thing. He got like 2 lines. That's not a narrative.
Yep.
All it's done so far is get us to the point that we're at right now, with full-grown adults insisting America can't be racist because we elected Obama twice, that racism will go away.
Dude, before Obama was elected, people were saying to me that Obama can never get elected because he's black. People were saying if he's elected, he's going to be assassinated. Like there's so much of people's perception of America completely changed. There was not even an assassination attempt on Obama. Yeah.
I know. I heard the same thing too.
To deny that.
Same thing too.
To deny that is just crazy. It's crazy.
There was one, but there was a couple, but they were really half-assed, remember?
Assassination attempts?
Yeah, someone like
when they ran at the wall or
yeah, they drove up to the wall and they shot randomly into the White House from like the street or something. Yeah.
I don't know if you can even count that. I mean, those happen like 3 times a week.
That's true.
Don't they? Some maniac.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one with Trump where the guy was in like a golf cart or something, or
yes, something like that,
or some guy had a plane that he tried to fly? Do you remember that?
It was. Oh, you're right. Was it? There's some single-seater plane that tried to land in the front lawn, or it was like a mini jetpack or something. I don't know, some like weird device. Yeah. Maybe that was Trump. I don't remember who it was. We went over them on stream once, all the presidential assassination attempts. I don't remember.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, wow. I have no recollection of it, but
just don't mention it, and that Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech wasn't an aspiration we have yet to fulfill, but some kind of magic spell that ended prejudice then and there. That is our
that's a fucking huge straw, man.
Show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Fuck
so
off.
According to Wikipedia, Obama had 6 assassination attempts, and Bill Clinton had 6 assassination attempts.
Oh,
so
really?
There you go.
How many blowjobs did Obama have?
Surprisingly, Bush only had 2.
2 blowjobs?
2 assassination attempts.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations. Thank you, Joe, for coming and talking to us. And hopefully we'll have fruitful conversations in the future. Maybe we'll even get to argue about stuff. And thank you all for coming with us on this journey of watching John Oliver totally suck when he talks about CRT. And in a very triggering way, to Adam especially, dare to cut our Lord and Savior Martin Luther King Jr. out of context. Anyway, and we hope to see you Tuesday.
Bye-bye! Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to